All right, so look, restaurant kitchens are the new sweatshops. It's modern day slavery dressed up as service. You wouldn't eat food made from a slave camp, would you? But what if you're already doing it? You have to realize just because someone isn't in chains doesn't mean that they're free. America has replaced plantations with paychecks that are too small to live on. And kitchen workers are trapped in that system every day. Here's what you're really supporting when you eat out. Here are 25 reasons why kitchen workers are treated like modern day slaves in aprons. No breaks, no rights. Workers spend 8 to 14 hours on their feet every day, most of the time with 0 breaks. And that has nothing to do with stamina. It's about survival under the fear of being fired. Then you also cooking in dangerous heat, most of the times in the kitchens. Especially on the line, it can get over 100 degrees, sometimes 110 degrees. Why? Because they say it's normal. It's just hot in the kitchen. But they don't consider that. You got people standing in these environments for 12, 13, 14 hours at a time without adequate nutrition. Then the wages are so low they don't even matter. The average line cook makes about $16 an hour. And $16 an hour in today's economy ain't shit. That's barely enough to take care of yourself, let alone take care of a family or do anything fun or even try to save $1 here and there. It's just impossible. That's not a job. That's legalized poverty. Then you're starving while surrounded by food. Most of the line cooks aren't allowed to eat what they cook. And a lot of times some people go entire shifts hungry while they're feeding other people. And guess what? Slaves also worked hungry on the plantation too. There ain't no health care and there ain't no safety net. You get injured, you get sick, you're on your own. Just like slavery, just like on the plantation. They exploit your labor, work you to the bone. You endure mental and physical pain, and you're supposed to take care of it yourself. Kitchen workers are seen as tools, not humans with needs. And wage theft is standard in the restaurant business. The restaurant industry leads the nation in wage violations, and few employees can fight back. And pain is just a part of the job. Burns, cuts, injuries are all just seen as part of the job. Sometimes even like a badge of honor, just to show how tough you are. But in reality, it's just systemic abuse, disguised as hard work. No chairs, no rest. Most workers in the kitchen are not allowed to sit down, even if they're doing a job where having a chair there might make things easier. Even if they can do their job with a little stool, or it's just not allowed. Which is just like slavery, because slavery wasn't just forced labor. It was forced exhaustion. And then when you get hired in the orientation, they say, you get a family meal. In your shift, you get, in the orientation, they say, you're allowed a free meal or something. But in reality, you don't really get to eat it all. And if you do, it's only a few scraps at the end of the shift. And it's just crazy when you think of the dynamic of all these workers who are hungry, feeding other people who can't even feed themselves off the food that they're cooking. Crazy. So then abuse is also part of the restaurant culture. The chefs scream, the managers threatening people, and workers take it. They have to take it because your silence equals a paycheck. As soon as you say something, as soon as you speak up, you get gaslit. Then sometimes they start gang stalking you. Then it turns into a bullying situation. And then they just fire you. That's coercion. That's not fair employment. Mental health is collapsing in the workplace, especially in the kitchen. Over 60% of people who work in the kitchen say that their job is destroying their mental health. So that makes these restaurants not so much of a workplace, but more like a psychological trap. Sleep deprivation is routine, because a lot of times you're working these double shifts, or you go from opening to closing, or you do the close to opens. And working these erratic hours make it impossible to have a steady sleep schedule, a steady routine. Slaves didn't get to rest either, and neither do modern workers in the kitchen. And then substance abuse is used as a lifeline in the kitchen. The restaurant industry has the highest drug rates in America. And it's not from partying. It's not because all these guys are just having a good time every night. It's about coping. It's about trying to manage the stress. It's about trying not to crash the fuck out. People are having a hard time, and they just want to live. And it gets hard in these kitchens sometimes. So the next is the fear. Fear is what's supposed to keep you in line. Fear of being fired, fear of retaliation, fear of being deported. Sound familiar? That's the same fear that kept slaves silent on the plantation. Then, as an employee in the kitchen, you are also disposable labor. They will replace you in a day. It is not about skills or loyalty. It's about you being useful until you collapse. And then they just find another one. Immigrant labor equals targeted slavery. Undocumented workers are often paid under the table, or they are exploited beyond the norm because they know they can't do nothing about it. They can't report it, so they take advantage of it. A lot of times in these kitchens, black and brown bodies do a lot of the heavy lifting. The front of the house usually gets most of the glory, and then in the back of the house. And a lot of times, it is people of color. It just depends on the city you in. But a lot of times, most of the people in the kitchen are black and brown. And just like on the plantation, these corporations build their wealth off of our backs. Women have to endure misogyny just to survive. Sexual harassment in the workplace is out of control. And sometimes a lot of women are afraid to speak up or say something of fear of retaliation, fear of losing money, fear of losing their livelihood. Also, a lot of people in the LGBTQ community face hostility. A lot of times they have to hide who they really are for fear of being verbally abused or made fun of, or just people talking negative about them. So rather than deal with all that, a lot of people like that have to hide who they are in the workplace just so they don't have to deal with all that negative energy. And then sometimes you have these restaurants that are called scratch kitchens, made from scratch kitchens. But that is about marketing, not morality. It sounds nice, but what that scratch kitchen normally means is, it usually means underpaid staff doing labor-intensive prep with zero recognition. Fast food equals fast slavery. Your convenience comes at a cost. See, these chains and these restaurants and these fast food places, they make their money by cutting costs in one place, and that's labor. You have to understand that that combo meal you love so much, it costs somebody else their dignity. Hospitality equals submission. Workers are trained to smile and say yes, even if they're in pain, even if they're hurting, even if they don't agree, even if they're having a mental health breakdown. And that's not service, that's servitude. Tip-based pay is modern-day feudalism. In a lot of tip-wage states, most of these companies and restaurants, they're paying $2.13 an hour as a base wage. Then they make the customer cover the rest. That's not freedom, that's dependency. Where a lot of servers have no guarantee that they'll make some money. They have to hope. And there's no future as an employee in the restaurant business. It's just survival. There's no ladder to climb. There's no escape plan. It's just more hours, more injuries, and then eventually burnout. So you have to understand that every perfect plate was made with pain. You might see that beautiful dish, but you don't see the hungry and overworked human in the back that's having a mental health crisis so that you can enjoy your combo meal. And that's not by accident, that's intentional. So at the end of the day, you have to realize that sweatshops are a real thing, and sweatshops don't just make clothes, they cook your food too. And the difference between slavery on a plantation and this, now we get a paycheck just big enough to keep us desperate. So I think it's time that we stop romanticizing the hustle culture in these kitchens, in these restaurants. Because it's not hustle, it's exploitation, and it feeds off your silence.